The sales might be down for Magic the Gathering singles market as well as the sealed product, but that isn't what's happening on the reserve list. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the hottest selling cards on the reserve list because this is your top 10 Sunday edition from September 17th to the 21st of 2024. These reserve list cards are selling. Welcome back to your weekly installment of the Reserve List Top 10. These are the hottest selling cards on the Reserve List this week, and I am MTG MOX Man to bring you all the facts of how the sales are looking. Again, if you enjoy the content today, don't forget you can support my channel by also using my TCG Player affiliate link. It is found in the description of all my videos. Click that link, it takes you to TCG Player, and this channel gets a kickback for everything you've purchased. Let's jump right into the number 10 card from Stronghold this week, and it is MOX Diamond. Now guys, this thing has an average price of $699 US for a near mint copy. This thing sold 21 copies this week. That's $14,679 of sales action. That is some massive moolah moving around the markets. But here's the thing. The cards selling are not all near mint. They are just the gamut this week. Near mint, light played, moderate, heavily played, even a damaged or two made the market move. Now, it's a zero casting cost artifact. When it comes into play, you choose and discard a land card or you sacrifice MOX Diamond. You add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, play it as a mana source. We used to use this thing with the what do you call it? The Lodestone Bauble. You discard a card, put it back on top after. It was great. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the number 9 card. This is Debt of Loyalty. Now, this last week was a lot higher on the list, and I'm surprised it's still here right now from Weatherlight. It comes in at number 9 with 33 sales this week, which is $292.05 of sales action. Now, remember, the good thing about reserve list cards is they're just not reprinting them. They're not coming back around, and these low sales means the price of these cards are very readily available. This is not an expensive card. It's under $10. This is cheaper than most of the new modern stuff you'll buy, but it's reserve list. So if it ever spikes, and it will, there's crazy stuff that can be had. So for 2 white and 1 generic, we get an instant card that says regenerate target creature and then gain control of that creature. As I've said before though, with this card, I believe there's a lot of errata text on this one, so you're going to have to look it up to make sure you understand how to utilize this card to its fullest effect. It's still a great card and it's under $10. Why don't you own 4? Well, you and your wallet will have to decide that. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next card this week because we are jumping over, I believe it's to Visions this week, right? We're going into Visions and we're taking a look at the City of Solitude. Now, this card, it's been like a $70 card before, guys, but it's only $11.38 for a near mint copy. And it's tied this week. You see how it's both 33 sales, but I put this one in the number 8 slot. So this number 8 card this week, City of Solitude, $375.54 of total sales action. Does have the same volume as Debt of Loyalty, but there's something going on. This card does a little bit more in my way of thinking at it. This thing is a 1 green, 2 generic. It's an enchantment that says each player may play spells and abilities only on their turn. It stops counter spells. It makes you not worry about what's going to go on. You just get to do what you want to do on your turn, and that is just insane. And depending on the build you're doing, and the fact this is only 1 green, means you can just kind of like slide this in to some off-color decks that have just a splash of green in them. I love this, guys. It's an amazing card, and it's less than $15. Like, what are people thinking? Buy your playlist set of 4, never worry about it again. Get the job done. Guys, our next card this week, we're jumping over to the Carnival of Souls. Okay, now this thing comes in at $7.99 with 35 sales this week. I haven't seen this card for a long time, but there's been quite a few sales this week. $279.65 of sales action, and the price tag again under $10. And it's an enchantment that adds mana to your mana pool. When things die, you lose a life. It's kind of crazy, right? So with the Carnival of Souls, we're going into the Urza block, of course, and the artwork's kind of cool looking. But what does the card do? Well, for 1 black and 1 generic, this enchantment states, whenever a creature comes into play, you lose 1 life and you add 1 black to your mana pool. There's a lot of ways of pumping out cool, crazy tokens, and in Commander, there's lots of ways to go infinite with this stuff, especially if life doesn't matter to you. So keep this stuff in mind, guys. Cards like this are those cards that can become really weird later on and jump up to that $50, $60 mark. Do you own 4? Should you buy 4? Yeah, I would. I'd get the 4 out of the way. Wait, I already did a couple of years ago. That's right. I paid more than this, but it doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about it now. For our next card, guys, Mirage. Lion's Eye Diamond, $490.25. And this card takes the number 6 slot with 36 sales this week, which is still $17,649 of total sales action. $480.25, guys. That's a lot of money for a card, but at the same time, for years, this card was worth nothing until people realized how to utilize it properly, and then everyone wanted one. So let's take a closer look. It's a 0 casting cost artifact that states, sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond, discard your hand, add 3 mana to your mana pool of 1 color, okay? Play it as a mana source. If you can't find ways around the fact you don't have cards in your hand, this is insane. There are always ways to draw cards. There are always ways to discard to the top of your library. People realized this later on, and this card became ultra awesome. All right, guys, our next card. We're jumping over to Fallen Empires, and we are taking a look at Rainbow Veil. This last week was $6.66. I remember talking about it because it was like the 666, but now it's $6.84, which means it did actually move the meter with the sales it had. 39 sales this week, $266.76 of total sales action, and the copies selling right now are near mint. Pay attention to that, near mint versions of this card. Because it's less than $10, it's really cheap to get, and it did have a huge print run, don't get me wrong. This is one of the standout cards from Fallen Empires just because it can tap for any color mana and it isn't legendary. So let's take a look at the Rainbow Veil. By the way, artwork's always epic. It taps to add 1 color of any color to your mana pool. Right? Control of the Rainbow Veil, though, passes to an opponent at the end of turn. So you just don't let it get to the end of turn. You understand, guys? You make sure you sacrifice this, you unsummon this, you find a way to make sure your opponent doesn't get control of this card, and then you just get to keep using it every turn by recasting it. Great card. Now, Derang Tournament. Yes, guys, still Bloomburrow taking control of this bad boy, and they're still seeing a lot of sales. 40 sales this week, or $3,120 of total sales action. It's down to $78 even. Now, this card has already lost, what, like $15, whatever, in the last month or so. It's really been going down after the release of Bloomburrow, and I really think players should be actually paying attention to this card because the FOMO effect of this card has now continually happened for 2 or 3 years in a row, where it hits these high spikes and a lot of money gets transferred. So when you look at this card now, if this thing goes below the $20 level in the next year, this is a card you should be watching. It should always be on your watch list because if it goes too cheap, you buy 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 copies and then you resell it when the card FOMOs out again, and it's going to happen. There's just too many cool ways of using it, okay? And people love squirrels. If you think the squirrel fetish is over, it's not, okay? It's an amazing card that players love to buy, but they love to buy it when it's not really affordable. It's just crazy. Now our next card, we are jumping over to Opalescence, and this of course is Urza's Destiny. This thing has seen a real tracking down of sales, but it's still in our top 10 in the number 3 slot. 41 sales this week, or $39.99 of total sales action, which is $1,639.59 if they're all near mint. And in this case, it was light played near mint that sold the most, with a couple of moderately played thrown in. You can save a lot of money, remember, buying moderately or heavily played cards. If you're going to use them, you don't care about the resale value, you might as well go for ones you can afford, okay? Now, what does this thing do? Well, we got a 2 white, 2 generic, and this is an enchantment that says each other global enchantment is a creature with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost. It's still an enchantment. So things that affect enchantments or affect creatures will affect these things, sure, but when you're going to do this, you're going to find a way to attack all out and just wipe your opponent out. Big thing right now inside of Commander. Now, let's go ahead and take a look. That's right, guys. Let's jump on down to our next card. This is Zubri of the Golden Feather, and this is something we got to talk about. $2.75 for near mint copies, and you can see here this thing had a total sales volume of 53 copies sold, or total value of $145.75. So what's going on with this card is Final Fantasy. It'll be coming up. We saw this with Griffin Canyon selling in the last couple of weeks, and then we've also now seen it with Zubri. Anything Griffin related, people think it's going to show up. Now, for a 1 white 4 generic, this 3/3 flyer, it does count as a Griffin. It does say Summon Legend, but all other Griffins get +1/+1. So depending on how Final Fantasy takes the turns, if you see a lot of Griffins inside that set, cards like this are going to spike. So would you rather buy it at $2.75 or pay $10 or $12? That's why players are buying into this card now. This is why they bought into Griffin Canyon, Winding Canyon. Guys, there are reasons why these things are happening. Pay attention. Now, our number 1 card, guys, it is still Forsaken Waste, and that's because of Duskmourn. This thing still continues to see massive sales action. 193 copies, or $4,053 of total sales action. This card's up to $21, and it's almost sold out. There's been so many copies selling that the market just hasn't churned these things back over. But the good news is the sales overall are starting to slow, and they will get slower and slower now that Duskmorn has come out. If this is a card you're after, I basically say at this point you just wait it out. Do not pay top dollar. Now, for a 1 black, 2 generic, Forsaken Waste is an enchant world that says players cannot gain life. During each player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life. If Forsaken Waste is the target of a successfully cast spell, that spell's controller loses 5 life. And also, you can bring this thing back, man. Skull of Worm is awesome for this stuff. Guys, great cards out there to bring these things back. I love it. By the way, on the side note, things like Replenish and that sold a lot. Academy Rector, same type of deal. Let's get to the wrap up though and talk about the market. A very interesting market that we had this week, but honestly, I think the eyes are not looking in the right places. When you look at the last few card spikes we've had and cards that really got the attention, Yurga, the Eater of All with Seeds of Innocence, well, that card's been dropping and it hasn't had a lot of sales. It's down to around $13, $14 a copy from the high of 28, which means it's down 50%. When you look at Mind Over Matter, Soldevi Digger, there was a whole bunch of cards this year on the reserve list that spiked that are now losing volume and losing market share. If you take a look at those cards, not to mention the other ones related to squirrels, you might find the values dropping off enough that it's worth diving into a few extra copies for future returns when these cards spike again. Not if, when. Because the way Wizard of the Coast has been constructing decks and constructing the idea, they are not caring about these reserve list cards or how they're going to interact, and it just causes more of a spike on the market for the reserve list cards because of the dedicated print run. Because we know these cards are in overall a shorter supply compared to the relative market we have for Magic the Gathering nowadays, it doesn't take much to move the market. You take a couple hundred copies off the market, it's going to move. You try to take 500 or 600 copies, assuming you could find that many, which is what we just saw happen with Forsaken, the card 3X's itself. If you're on the inside track on those things, you make thousands and thousands of dollars. Just remember, a year ago, we had a card called Derang Tournament for $15, $16. That thing went up to $80 something again. These are those kind of cards you got to just keep in mind that they're going to come around. And this is not where players are looking right now. This is not where the reserve list money is moving. And we are still seeing next to no sales in things like the dual lands. The prices just seem to have players stymied out. Although seeing things like Lion's Eye Diamond as well as MOX Diamond still moving that way as colorless artifacts that are highly sought after, that's a very interesting thing to see, because I know it's been hard to find them at a reasonable price point. Well, it looks like the price sold at the higher price point, which means you're only going to see the market shift up again. I mean, it did move $10 this month alone, so keep an eye on these things, guys. Anyway, thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks for being here with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the live stream every Sunday, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, and of course in the comment section of every video. Have a great day, everyone. Shop smart, shop smart. Look at all these names. Look at these people. They're on the credits of every single video. And I make comments every day about how amazing it is to have a loyal Patreon group, a YouTube membership group who support this channel every single month. And because of that, daily uploaded content is created and researched for everyone else to enjoy. So if it wasn't for these people you see here, it wouldn't be happening. Thanks again, everyone.